Hello, we're back with another interview, and this week we're interviewing Dr. Danise Hertz, who was an early, she was early on the list to get the vaccine because she is a doctor and she's treating people. So why don't you give us a little bit of early background on when you got the vaccine and what happened, just a quick brief intro.
Yes, my name is Danise Hertz. I got the vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, on December 23rd of 2020 at my hospital that I've worked at for many years. And I waited my 15 minutes. I felt fine. I left. And by the time I got to my car, I noticed that my face was burning and tingling. So instead of going to do what I had planned to do, I decided I better go home. And by the time I got home, I felt like I was going to faint. So I had my husband call 911. The paramedics came. My blood pressure was sky high, but otherwise they thought I looked okay and left me. And, I started on a regimen for an allergic reaction. I called an allergist and I became, within the next couple days, extremely ill. I went to bed. I had severe painful paresthesias, which are burning, tingling pain in my face particularly, but also throughout my body. I also felt a tight band-like constriction around my chest, like someone was trying to kill me with a rope. And I had ringing in my ears, blurred vision, headache. I couldn't eat. I thought I was dying. I called many doctors. No one had heard of anything. I was treated with steroids and antihistamines for 2 weeks without any improvement. And by then I started seeking other care outside of my community because I couldn't find any doctors to help me. So I started calling doctors all over the country.
Yeah, which is interesting because you are a doctor, you are in the medical community. And then, of course, you started doing some research. You looked on websites. You got onto Neurology Today. You left a message,
Yes.
comment on the article, which is very common these days for people to be able to do that. And instead of putting your name, you put your email address. And that was inadvertently you did that, yeah, by mistake. But that's how other people found you. That's how my wife found you, that she was looking for answers. And she found your comment and she said, oh my gosh, a doctor, let me email her. And then you eventually, you and a few others, you had formed this private Facebook group of just a few people, but then over time it grew. And I got to tell you, I'm amazed as I talked to and interview the different people that are in the group, they feel so valued, validated, cared for, supported, protected by you, and valued, I guess is the bigger words. Tell me a little bit about what's been your role in that Facebook group.
Well, I am an administrator of the group, so I interview by messaging every new person that we add and make sure that they're appropriate for our group. And I have had some inappropriate people try to get in. Being a physician, I'm not administering any kind of care on this group, but I look at what people write and I try to guide them into the right directions. Because of course, since we can't get any care, there are all kinds of alternative people out there trying to make money off of people like us. So I'm trying to influence our group to go into the right direction. And we share information, we share medical knowledge and try to help each other.
I was just going to ask you what's been the biggest benefits as you've been doing this for months now, 5 months, 6 months. What's been the biggest, do you think, benefit to having formed this group for people that can't seem to find answers or get help? What's been the biggest benefit?
Well, I think the biggest benefit is that we've shared experience and knowledge. We still don't have answers. We still don't have diagnoses or treatments or cures, but we're sharing when we find a physician that might be plugged into what's happening to us and what they're recommending. So many of us will go run to that physician and try to get help. So it's just really a place where we can share knowledge and experiences.
Yeah. Now it is starting to heat up out there. People are starting to break through the censorship on social media. There are people that are you're starting to see more news reports on people that have had severe reactions, especially neurological reactions. We're starting to see and hear those stories. What is your reaction to where we are at this point in time with this process?
Well, we are not where we should be. These tiny little leaks are so tiny, they're hard to find. And my belief is that because there are so many of us, we amount to thousands of people who have had neurological reactions. It is just too threatening for our governmental agencies and drug companies to release this data. So they've kept it undercover. You know, the other horrible side effects that have occurred in people are in smaller numbers, at least so we think. So it's a little less threatening to the public. You know, we're not trying to dissuade people from getting the vaccine. We just want our reactions to be made public so the medical community can know about them and we can get treatment and research can be done. We're not trying to belittle the vaccine. We all ran out to get it, and I still tell people to get it. I know this is, you know, when you look at the sheer numbers, this is not a large percentage of people who are getting these reactions, but it should be known so that we can get help.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, what I keep hearing from everyone in the group or groups that are represented, people who have gotten the shots and had these reactions. They're pro-vaccine, still pro-vaccine, pro-science, and some are pro-informed consent, which I think most of them are as well. Now it's interesting, right? Because, you know, as a PhD in sociology, this is also a fascinating cultural event that's taking place, and so it's bewildering to some degree. But basically, what I hear you guys saying is, hey, there's a group, we all took the shot. Somebody ended up drawing the short straw, and ending up that small 1% or less drew the short straw, and so you're saying, yeah, we should still be taking the vaccine, and yet there's people that have taken the short straw or drawn the short straw. We still need to recognize them, believe them, hear them, and study them to help them and those that come behind. And yet our culture, our society, our media, our government, and our politicians has a tough time holding both of those ideas that, no, we can keep drawing straws. 99+% are going to do good. That 1% or less is going to draw the short straw, but we also can help them. Why do you think we're having such a tough time holding both of those? Hey, we still need to fight the pandemic and we need to get vaccinated, but we also need to help those that have had adverse effects. Why do you think there's such a challenge in holding both of those?
It's hard for me to know how the government and the drug companies think. But in my own opinion, I think the people who wanted to get vaccinated have gotten vaccinated. We now have a portion of our society that's very ambivalent. And I think the government is worried that, you know, if they hear anything negative, it's just going to cement their decision not to get it. Unfortunately, you know, that leaves us without any help, which is really awful to have sick and wounded people left to their own devices and not to be able to get any help.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, we have, especially the early adopters, you know, of the vaccine, like the medical profession, you and the other people in the groups. You guys are out there. You guys are, in a sense, are heroes. You're taking this vaccine, experimental emergency use, to fight this just nasty virus, right? That has this long hauler potential, and as heroes, right? There are some of you that have, you know, been wounded and abandoned. You know, it's
It's
it
terrible.
seems to me like we ought to be, the responsible thing to do is, as a society, we should also be studying you guys, helping you guys. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree completely. It's, you know, having practiced medicine for 33 years and trying my hardest to help people, being now in the opposite role of being a patient and not being able to get anyone to help me, I find it astounding. I can't believe that, you know, our government, our medical system is not rushing to help us. We are wounded. We are casualties of this vaccine. And I don't understand why we have to fight for our cause, fight for our identity. We shouldn't be fighting. We shouldn't, every, you know, thing that gets published, you know, we have to prove that we really have been wounded. Everyone, you know, they treat us like we're criminals and we're sick, we're incapacitated. We need help. We should not have to be fighting for our existence.
What do you think, as you've been the beginnings of early in the year, some of the first adopters, what do you think their greatest frustrations, as you've heard as a member of this group and the administrator of the group, what have you heard are the biggest challenges for people in the group?
You mean as far as getting medical care, or?
Well, what do they see as the biggest challenges? I mean, you hear, you know, different challenges. What do you see as the biggest challenges?
Well, you know, we're all facing the same challenges. We have doctors who either don't believe us or don't know what to do for us. I just got off the second neurology visit virtually that I had in the past week. And basically they asked me questions and I said, do you have any other ideas? No. Do you have any other suggestions? No. That's every visit I go to. I think we're all experiencing the same thing. We're sick and we're not getting better. We don't know what our future is. We don't know if we will get better. People do tell us that we're going to get better, but they don't know. Or am I going to be suffering like this for the rest of my life? I don't know. We all face the same challenges. We're not getting any help. We don't know what's wrong with us. Our government has abandoned us. Our medical system is not helping us. There's just something very wrong.
Wow. And that's coming from a physician, Dr. Danise Hertz, medical doctor. How many years have you practiced medicine?
33 years of gastroenterology practice. I retired last October and quickly got ill. I was thinking of perhaps going back in to help with this pandemic, but my illness would not allow that.
And then one of the things you guys did do is you reached out to the CDC, the FDA, and the White House. You reached out to them with a letter, a group letter from your Facebook group. What has been the response of that?
Basically nothing. I have had conversations with the head of the FDA several times. In fact, I just finished sending her a letter. They're not interested in hearing what has happened to us. And I've insisted to her that she needs to hear. She has to stop ignoring this. We need help. We have been abandoned, but we have gotten absolutely no help, no recognition. We have been completely, ignored, which is shocking to me. I didn't know that's how our system worked.
It is crazy. Is it? Do you think it's? What do you think it's behind that? Is it control? Is it fear? Is it just that you guys are not known to the medical community and the media? Why do you think, to some degree, there could be lots of reasons why you're being ghosted or overlooked, or what do you think?
I think they know about us. I think they knew about this before the vaccine rolled out. If you dig deep into the data there are lots of reports of these kind of injuries that were never told to us. So, that's one issue. There was no informed consent. They did know about these things, and they do know now. They've been, written to by many in our group. So I'm certainly not the only one who's written. They're ignoring all of us. I believe that their motivation is that they want to get everyone vaccinated. They want to end the pandemic. I understand that. I agree with that. And, they look at us as a small percentage of casualties versus what COVID might cause. So, that is their outlook. But to be on the other end and to be so injured and abandoned is just not right. They have to do both. They have to, encourage people to get vaccinated, give informed consent, let people know what the risks are, and help the wounded, not leave them on the battlefield.
Wow, I couldn't have said that better myself. That's probably why you're a doctor. Okay, so the letter went out, kind of fell on deaf ears. Then your group, along with a couple others, started your own website, C as in COVID, C19vaxreactions.com, C19vaxreactions.com.
I think we're slowly getting our word out. The website has been helpful. It's been spread on the internet, onto various sites, onto TikTok, and I think the word is definitely getting out. And I agree with you that there are many thousands who have been afflicted with these neurological symptoms. And the reporting to VAERS, is just a tiny amount. And they estimate that's about 1% of the total picture, because most people don't report. So there have to be, perhaps hundreds of thousands of people who have had neurological reactions.
Yeah, and maybe in times of COVID, maybe it's more like 2 or 3 or maybe even 5%, but it's still vastly underreported. It's true, that there's no confirmation, although eventually I know some people had been contacted by the CDC because of the VAERS report. But even reporting on VAERS is not easy. Not only is it not easy, and it times you out, it's very involved. It can be very frustrating. It's also a felony to post misinformation on VAERS. So it's against the law. So if there is somebody that does find their way to post a misinformation or trying to discredit the system itself, it's pretty rare from a logical perspective. So yeah, it's not being validated to a great degree, and it's not being found to be causational, but it certainly seems to me, now you're a medical doctor, so you can speak to this, it certainly seems to me that because of the skyrocketing rise in the last year as compared to the 31 years previously, it seems like a good warning system that says, we need to pay attention to this and study this. Would you agree or not? Or what's your feedback? What's your response to that?
Absolutely. And I mean, if you look at all the different symptoms that are being reported, some of them spike way up and others are at a very low level. So clearly, this should be used as a warning system. Unfortunately, there's no follow-up. I personally have reported my case to VAERS, I think 8 times, twice verbally to someone who took down the report. I asked her, is anyone going to be contacting me? I have been very sick. And she said, I'll pass it on to the higher ups, but no one's ever contacted me other than a clerk to verify my report. So I don't know what they're doing with that information, but, and yes, it may not be completely accurate, but they have to look at the trends of these symptoms and validate them.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. So you have certainly thousands of people, and now you have people in the media. Well, just even recently, YouTube put a disinformation label on some of the videos that have gone out of people simply just telling their stories. I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? It's like, I'm telling my story, which we're a culture, at least from a sociologist, right? We're a culture that's starting to highly value people's narratives, right? People's stories. And now you have people sharing their stories, and you have you have YouTube saying misinformation. What do you make of that?
It's unbelievable. The beliefs that we live with that run our country, like freedom of speech, freedom, to get information, all of these things have been uh, cut out for us. We have to be very careful on Facebook what we post. Everything gets censored. We have had medical articles censored saying they aren't, valid. And every comment almost that is written, and nothing is anti-vax. It's just talking, like you said, about what's happening to us, what our symptoms are. We get a little post on each item saying the vaccines have been proven to be safe and effective. I don't even see those anymore because they're literally on every post that is placed on Facebook. So the censorship is hard to understand. It all goes along with this push to get everyone vaccinated, but it's really taking away our inalienable rights as citizens of this country to be able to have freedom of speech.
I think that, yeah, I validate that exactly. Okay. The other thing too that I've noticed is, so when you speak out and speak your story, like a lot of the people in your group and other groups, right, or just the larger umbrella of people, when you speak out and you share your story, your experience, and people see that, and people know, I mean, people sense, oh, this is legit, this is honest, this is transparent. And in a cancel culture, courageous. I mean, because you're gonna take some arrows potentially, right? So you're courageous, you're being honest. People sense that, and then the social media and the mainstream media and the government, right, pushes back against that,
Right.
and you guys are the ones that are eroding public trust in our social institutions. I would say, as a sociologist looking at that, it's like, no, it's not the people speaking their truth that's eroding. It's when I watch or others watch you guys speak, tell your truthful and honest and transparent stories, and then you get canceled, ghosted, censored by our social institutions. That's what it's our social institutions pushing back against the people that erodes trust in our social institutions. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, we speaking out as individuals and groups has taken courage. None of us have been in this role before, and we don't really like being in this role, but we're desperate for help. And to be knocked down by the media, to be, to have our integrity and our honesty questioned, and to have to prove, our truth to these institutions is beyond my understanding. We are saying we're sick, we're hurt, we need help. That's all. To knock us down is the wrong way to do it.
Well, I can't think of a better way to end this interview, but maybe there's something else you'd like to share, a perspective that I didn't cover. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I just want, what has happened to this group of people to be made public so that we can get help, that we can educate the medical community, figure out what has happened to us, understand the science behind it, get treatments for us so we don't have to go on and on and on being so ill. I've been like this for 6 months now. I have no hope of improving. I need help. And that's all that we're asking for. We're not anti-vaxxers. We want people to get vaccinated. We get the vaccine. We just want help. We want to get better. We want to get back to our lives. That's all that we're asking for. We've been abandoned.